What things are legal but you think should be illegal? Story 1. Insurance companies decide what medical care you get instead of your doctor. For example, my specialist told me I needed surgery to fix a vertebra in my neck. My insurance provider refused and said I had to try multiple other treatments first. But for an entire year, I was forced to go through alternative therapies that did absolutely nothing while I lived in constant pain. Eventually, the insurance company finally approved the surgery. After the operation, the pain was gone. The same thing happens with medication. Your doctor prescribes a specific drug, and the insurance company says you must try and fail several others first. The people making these decisions aren't doctors. They're employees whose job is to deny enough claims to keep profits high. Many of them are even financially rewarded for denying coverage to sick people. Story 2. Personal property tax on vehicles. Like in Virginia, if you own a car, you're required to pay taxes on it every year, usually around February. Each county decides how much your car is worth, even if their estimate is completely wrong, and then taxes you based on that number. It honestly feels criminal. In Michigan, your car registration is due on your birthday. It's incredibly common, even at 38. Owning my own home, having a kid, and working full-time, for my dad to stop by with cash to cover my registration fees. Story 3. Reporting presidential election results from eastern states before polls have closed in western states. There should be a strict rule that no results are released until every voter has had a chance to vote. If early results show a landslide, many people decide it's pointless to vote at all. That choice doesn't just affect the presidential race, it also impacts state and local elections. No one takes office the next day. There is absolutely no reason we can't wait 24 hours to release the results. Story 4. Advertisements for prescription medications. Not only is it ethically questionable, but the logic behind them makes zero sense. I constantly see ads for conditions that affect a tiny fraction of the population. For these ads to work, someone with that rare condition needs to be watching TV or streaming, notice that specific ad among hundreds of others, and then think, I should ask my doctor about this. But if the condition is that rare, their doctor has almost certainly already discussed treatment options with them. Unless the drug is brand new, the patient probably already knows it exists. The idea of suggesting a branded medication to your doctor based on a TV commercial is bizarre. A doctor's job is to determine the best treatment, not follow marketing suggestions from patients. Being informed is great, but recommending drugs you barely understand because of an ad will always feel strange to me. And yes, I know ads are algorithm-driven, but if the algorithm can't tell I don't have any of these rare conditions, it's doing a terrible job. Story 5. Lobbyists. This one is complicated. There are legitimate uses for lobbying. Politicians can't be experts in every field, and it makes sense for industries to have representatives who explain their perspective. Not every industry is run by evil billionaires trying to manipulate the system. If a politician opposes nuclear energy due to misinformation, isn't it useful for experts to lobby and say, here's why your stance might be wrong? That said, the system is deeply corrupted, but banning lobbying outright probably isn't the solution. Story 6. Advertising mail. There should be far stricter laws limiting the sheer amount of trash shoved into people's mailboxes, stuff that nearly everyone immediately throws away. What bothers me most is the massive waste of paper. It makes me irrationally angry pulling that junk out just to toss it in the bin. Companies should face limits on how much physical advertising waste they're allowed to produce. Suddenly, no more deceptive envelopes, screaming final notice, or immediate action required. Advertising needs real regulation. We're sprinting toward a cyberpunk-style future of non-stop manipulation. Story 7. Privately funded political campaigns. Everyone should be on equal financial footing when running for office. Money should not determine elections. Candidates who knowingly spread lies or use dishonest tactics should be held accountable. Right now, politics is already about connections, but it's become blatantly obvious that whoever has the most money and is willing to lie the hardest wins. We're governed by wealthy people who live under an entirely different set of rules. At this rate, they'll be able to get away with anything in the future. Story 8. Subscription models on anything that isn't a streaming service. Why am I buying a doorbell or dishwasher only to discover afterward that it's unusable without a monthly subscription? If you physically own something, you should fully own it once you've paid for it. Same with games. On Steam, you don't actually own your games. If your account gets banned, everything you've bought disappears, along with all the money you spent. Story 9. Excessively loud exhaust systems. Anything over a certain decibel level should be regulated. Noise pollution has been proven to harm health, contributing to hearing loss, high blood pressure, stress, sleep problems, and heart disease. Long-term exposure, even to moderate noise, activates the body's stress response, flooding it with cortisol. Children are especially vulnerable, with noise negatively impacting learning, cognition, and academic performance. Research also links noise pollution to metabolic disorders, worsened mental health conditions, and increased risk of early death. Story 10. Gambling. I live in a country with one of the highest numbers of casinos and betting shops per capita in the world. There's a gambling venue on nearly every street. I've watched countless people ruin their lives because online gambling has made it even worse. You don't even need to leave your bed anymore. People argue that banning gambling would just push everyone to crypto casinos. That's not true. Most gamblers I know are either delusional or completely clueless. The same guy convinced a slot machine is about to pay out isn't navigating crypto wallets, identity verification, and exchanges. The extra friction alone would deter many people, especially casual or non-gamblers. It wouldn't stop everyone, but it would significantly reduce the damage. Story 11. Purchasing single-family homes for the express purpose of renting them out. Screw anyone who does this. Rent out rooms in your own home you live in if you want, or invest in apartments and condos if you want to be in the rent game. Those houses are for people to raise families in, and they're being perverted into business assets instead of homes. Anyone born in and living in a vacation hot zone has been experiencing this issue for decades, but it's gotten bad enough that it's affecting people all over now. It might be just one factor affecting the jacked up housing prices, but it is a factor. Also, the ownership of property without being a fully fledged citizen who lives here or for the purpose of running a business based in another country. Leasing totally fine, but not ownership. Our land is finite, and it's too expensive to afford a home nowadays. Story 12. Special interest donors in politics. Politicians with backing like that aren't working for their constituents. They're working for their funders to secure further funding in the next election cycle. And that's how you end up with career politicians. Funding like this should come only from private individuals, and only from the country or state that they're running in. Personally, I would also implement term limits for all of the main politicians. Not like a desk jockey doing admin work, but the people making the decisions shouldn't be there for 30 years. But that's an answer for another time. Story 13. The US government buys your data from private companies. There's a reason they still need to buy the data from those companies. If the government wants to charge someone with a crime, they have to present their case with evidence. If the evidence was gathered illegally, the case actually gets thrown out of court. Now, if they purchase data from a company, that data can be used as legal evidence to convict a suspected criminal. So what they can do is illegally search through your data and any company's data until they find evidence they can purchase legally. Then they would set up a case that looks like they did not have illegal methods of finding evidence. If the judge can't tell illegal spying was used in the investigation, they would have to let the trial take place according to due process. Story 14. Legally enforced geographical monopolies. I'm looking at you, ISPs. This has been a big problem in the city I live in. Up in the Pacific Northwest, Washington State, Comcast is pretty much the only option in my area. Frontier is available, but at only 1.5 megabytes download, and that is less than unusable for me and my family. We game, we stream movies and TV shows, and I'm an IT manager who needs to work from home sometimes. I'm forced to use Comcast, and they've raised prices on us multiple times. Story 15. In the US, multi-level marketing. The bizarre thing is that they actually are highly illegal. The companies that get away with it just move a few things around and rebrand it as totally different. It's the same concept as that synthetic weed. The government makes weed illegal, so some skeevy people create totally not weed, you guys, and sling it around. Like synthetic weed, though, the result is sometimes even more damaging. Story 16. The supplement industry. It should be regulated. Most of it is talcum powder and ground up Chinese newspapers with exaggerated claims and probably undetectable amounts of active ingredient. The supplement industry turns a higher profit than the pharmaceutical industry. They don't need to pay for research into their claims. They don't need to go through a lengthy process to prove that the product does what it's advertised to do. They don't have the FDA looking over their shoulder for side effects. They could take recycled, used baseball caps and eggshells and grind them up into a powder and put that powder into a pill and say that pill is a calcium and fiber supplement and get away with it. Story 17. Overly loud ads on the computer and internet. Hulu, for instance, has ads if you don't have the ad-free service. Set your volume to the TV show, and when an ad comes on, it'll blast louder than the show content. Sometimes it's very loud. If you had headphones on, it could cause hearing damage. This happens in all ads over the internet. It's illegal on cable ads. They know they can get away with it on the internet because there is no law preventing it. Story 18. Hospitals or specialists send you a bill before they even send it to insurance. Do you know how many people pay for the bill without even looking at it or questioning it? They double dip. It's so messed up. As a person who does medical billing, you have no idea how frustrating this is. A lot of the time, where I work at least, it comes down to the person at registration not doing something right. I can't tell you how many calls I get about insurance not being billed, and it's not even uploaded in the system, even though the card was scanned or the attach button wasn't clicked, so it's on the account but not attached so it doesn't bill. The way hospitals are now, they are so big almost everything is automated, and one person screwing up messes up the whole system. Story 19. The online surveillance economy. Advertising companies and social media companies have set up the largest surveillance operation in human history. Not only are they tracking what websites you visit and everything you do on social media, they also track offline things like your location and movements, as well as your credit card purchase history and credit history. If the government was doing this, people would be crying bloody murder. Story 20. Debt collectors tricking people into accepting responsibility for their dead relatives' debt. DRM that prevents people from accessing content they paid for. None of this temporary license crap. If you buy a song, it should be yours, and the company you bought it from should not be able to delete it off your PC or flip a switch to make it unplayable. Same for online activated games that inevitably become unplayable when the servers they're tied to are shut down, locking down electronics against third-party software. If I buy a desktop, it's standard that I'll be able to install my preferred version of Windows, Linux, BSD, etc. The same should be true for consoles. See Sony releasing an update that removed the PlayStation's ability to run Linux, and Nintendo doing the same to the and phones. See Huawei, Samsung USA, and every other company that doesn't offer bootloader unlocks. Story 21. Jehovah's Witnesses do not let their children get blood transfusions to save their lives. It's sinful in their eyes. A friend of mine's parents was part of a church that forbids blood transfusions. When she was injured and needed blood, her father approved it, and when questioned said, "Well, I said they could, so it's my sin, not hers, and God will have to sort out whether the sin of it outdoes the responsibility he gave me to protect my children the best I am able." They were kicked out of their church, which is how they ended up at ours. Story 22. Lobbying or unlimited anonymous campaign donation. The crazy thing is that lobbying is supposed to be a good thing, and can be in some instances. Since lawmakers are not experts on many subjects they are tasked to make laws on, and since they don't have the time to research these subjects, lobbying is supposed to be a way that experts can have influence in government. Except big money and corporations have turned this into a way to benefit themselves by pushing for things that help their profits, often at the expense of society as a whole. For example, a scientific coalition has virtually zero power in lobbying lawmakers regarding climate change, compared to the multi-billion-dollar fossil fuel industry. The tobacco industry of the 50s and beyond is another great example. This is why rulings such as Citizens United are so disastrous, because it gives free rein and endless influence to any entity with more money. The self-promotion of these entities is often at the cost of the population as a whole. Story 23. Police casually lie about things just to intimidate or trick people into doing things, complying they don't legally have to do. Like when a cop tells someone what they are doing is illegal, when it isn't, in order to get them to stop. Things like that. There are some serious and legit reasons when the police should lie to people, but I am not talking about those instances. There is a great video out there of a police officer who, because he gets complaints from people about people riding their bikes in a certain spot, which is legal, tries to get them to stop by saying it was illegal. And he does this because he doesn't like getting complaints from citizens about it. But the bike rider knew the law and knew he was legally riding his bike there. The cop basically gave up when he realized that his attempt wouldn't work. That is a perfect example of what I am referring to. Allowing cops to lie about things like that just erodes the public's trust. Story 24. Leaving cold stuff at the grocery store just anywhere random when you don't want it. Put it back. The store, especially during a rush, doesn't have magic elves to run around and put your crap back for you, especially not if you hide it behind something like a carrot. Unless the item was already out of date or damaged, leaving it out of the cooler to spoil is just wasting it for no reason. Do I come to your house and leave your lunch meat out in the hothouse all day without putting it back? Do I hide your lunch meat in your cupboard so you won't know I was too lazy to put it back in the fridge? No, I don't. Story 25. Social media companies are able to use your pictures for promotional reasons without your permission. For example, there was a pretty recent thing where a YouTuber named Cody Ko had videos from his TikTok account, which was private, being used for TikTok ads. So even though his account and all the videos on it were private, TikTok was still able to access them and repurpose them for their own promotional reasons, and it was all totally legal. Story 26. Laboratories that use lost pets for medical research. One of the reasons that's done is because it reduces the number of animals that have to be raised specifically for research. If the animal shelters are full and have to put down animals because there's no space, they may as well use the ones that would have just been put down anyway, unless the variability in the animals affects the experiment. Either way, an animal is used in the experiment. Eliminate it entirely, and now we need to raise more animals specifically for experimentation, and I highly doubt they ever experience a life outside of a laboratory. But if the animal shelters have the space, then yeah, I don't think they should send a lost pet to the experiments. The original owner may still be looking for it. It's not something that has a particularly happy outcome in either case. One choice is simply more pragmatic with the limitations of life. We need a reasonable certainty that new medicines won't kill people before we start testing new medicines on people, so we can't eliminate the need entirely without killing more people or stalling medical developments. I don't particularly like the idea of experimenting on what could have been my pet cat, but it's unrealistic to expect animal shelters to always have the budget to care for every animal on the streets. Euthanizing them results in a new animal being raised specifically for the research anyway. Story 27. Paying for house insurance and getting nothing. I had a raccoon on my roof which was apparently covered. I asked them to come fix it and they tell me to get the raccoons removed. The only company that can remove a mom and babies will go in, take the babies, and put them in a box outside and install a one-way door at a vent that the raccoon never even used to get in. It would fall to its death if it tried that door. It went in through the metal thingies that are just clipped in at the overhang, and that's all he does, and it's $1,500 and not covered. And if the mom doesn't put the babies back on the roof overnight, and the people could come clean out the attic and fix the roof, it's $2,000. And then insurance tells me they only cover $500. What the hell am I paying them for? Story 28. Banks charging an overdraft fee within a reasonable amount of time. Like, if I'm in overdraft, it's obviously because I'm poor or lacking funds. I think you should be given a grace period of 5 business days to deposit money into your account. Getting charged $40 after being in the red for a day or less, especially if I'm waiting on a paycheck and a bill or payment just came out, is agonizing. I often don't have that $40 to spare, and the longer my account sits in the red, the more they will charge me. There needs to be some kind of grace period, then I understand the bank having to intervene. Story 29. Doxing and what I call dox shaming. The former, where you publish someone's personal details so that they can be harassed. The latter, where you use that information to disenfranchise and unperson them by seeking, and perhaps succeeding, to get them fired, or ostracized, or even their safety threatened because you disagree with their opinions and use their opinions in ways that have nothing to do with their life, so that they cannot continue functioning in society. Both should be swift ways of getting your own life ruined hardcore and the information removed. Never mind that it should also come with civil liability that will make your financial life hell on earth. Story 30. Companies not responding to you after you go in for a job interview. I don't understand why it's acceptable for these places to bring you in for an interview. Then, if you don't get the job, you will just never hear from them again. It's honestly kind of unprofessional in my opinion. I'm not asking for a real person to reach out to everybody who didn't make the cut, but an automated email or phone call telling me I didn't get the job would be nice, rather than having me sit around doing nothing for several weeks wondering if I'm going to hear back or not so I can move on with my life. It should be required that companies send some kind of rejection notice to the people who didn't make it. Story 31. Selling defective merchandise, then refusing to allow you to return it. I bought a special keyboard from Walmart.com. Apparently it was through an affiliate of theirs called Joybuy. It said unlimited returns within the first 30 days. So I bought the keyboard, tried it out, and the buttons don't work. I try to return the message and tell them that I have to make a video. I made a video showing that it doesn't work. They tell me that because they are an affiliate company, they don't have to honor those return policies, and now they just ignore anything I call or send to them. Story 32. Prescription drug commercials. They spam every basic channel and specifically target the elderly. Only ones I really see are either drugs that have insane side effects like depression meds that cause suicidal thoughts and depression, or opiate-based drugs from companies that know they can hook people on. Like, it's cool you want to educate your consumers about your product, but showing random old people doing random regular activities just happier isn't going to teach me crap about the drug you want me to be prescribed to. Story 33. Marriage infidelity. It's shameful that we give a cheating spouse equal legal standing in divorce with almost no consequences. If you make significantly more than them, you could even be required to pay alimony to the person who violated your marriage vows. If they can't put their spouse before their own selfish desires, why should we trust them to put their kids first? Yet they even get almost equal chances at partial or full custody. Our family court system in general in the US is a stain to the name of justice. Story 34. In the UK, it is legal for property agencies to contact landlords to offer new tenants that would pay more than the current one. Effectively, they are virtually auctioning and then offering the landlord the highest bidder. If the landlord accepts, they can kick out the current tenant with 1 month notice. They do this because they cannot charge fees for contract renewals, but they can for new contracts. So their interest is to rotate each property as much as possible. Yet another way in which greed puts families on the streets and inflates property and rental prices. Story 35. Having separate taps instead of a mixer. Are they really that much cheaper to fit? Also having a tub without a shower head if a separate shower unit isn't available, and or a tub where shower curtain rails or curtain or shower splash screen are not installed. Here in the UK, I still see so many new builds or refurbished units that still do all this crap, and I don't understand why. Some are marketed as luxury units or serviced accommodation where people pay hundreds if not thousands per type of crapness. I've seen folks sit in the tub with a jug to freshen up rather than have a full bath because they couldn't shower and were paying a stupid amount for the privilege. Story 36. Universities with worse teaching methods than the internet. I had a programming-related class in which the teacher knew nothing on the subject and said I applied here for algebra, economics, and probability, but the school gave me this instead, and with YouTube videos that explain things better than the school you are better of learning outside. I don't remember some. That I learned only the videos. Now, some teachers are good at their job, but I believe it is the school that is messing up. In another university, my friend is required to have gender studies, and he is like, what the hell, how is that going to help me program at all? It's not optional. He needs to have the class to graduate as an engineer. It would be okay for me if it was optional, but mandatory, hell no. I would have preferred economics, cooking something to prepare me for the outside, even joining the scouts or something. Greetings from Mexico. Story 37. Surprise mechanics in video games marketed to children. Guns carried outside your own home. I don't care if you have bazookas. I just think when you are no longer on your own land, you have no right to bring danger to a shared space in a country or state or town. It's up to that town or state or country to protect you outside of your home, not you. Texas just passed a nice law that fits well with this idea of mine, where when a state of emergency is declared, people can conceal carry without permits, which is exactly the only time I consider taking a gun out of your home valid. When the government is too busy to police the streets,